Okay, so I've spoken a lot about how I absolutely love listening to podcasts as a way to upskill myself when I'm on a walk, when I'm sat working, whatever it is. Sometimes when I'm like on the treadmill at the gym, I'll just put my headphones on, put a podcast on. I think podcasts are a really good way to just like in the background, like learn new information, get new insights. And yeah, if you're on self-improvement, then this video is going to be good for you because I'm just going to basically tell you 5 of my favorite podcast specific episodes. So I'm not going to be talking about the podcast overall because all these podcasts I'm going to list here are great, but these are the 5 episodes that, you know, if you've not heard them or you've not heard of these people, I definitely recommend that you listen to these episodes or watch them because these are my favorite. I've listened to probably close to 100 podcasts now, and these 5 are the ones that really stuck out to me when I was writing the video. So yeah, I'm going to talk about them briefly and just give you them, and yeah, hopefully it helps. Okay, so the first podcast I want to talk to you about is a podcast from Mike Thurston. That's his podcast, First Things First, and this is his podcast with Chris Williamson. And Chris Williamson is another podcaster. He does the Modern Wisdom podcast, which I think is my favorite podcast ever. And I've got 2 of his episodes on this list, but this episode that he did with Mike Thurston is just absolutely fantastic. They talk about latent leverage, which is a really cool idea that I really like. They talk about being monomaniacal, which is focusing on one ordinating principle. I've got some notes up here actually about this podcast. I actually stick pages on my wall, so sometimes when I'm listening to a podcast I will take notes and draw little graphs and stuff, and on my wall here I've just got a bunch of them. I'll just quickly show you actually sort of notes from the podcast there and some Hamza videos. So yeah, you can see that one, Mike Thurston, Chris Williamson up there. All kind of these really quite advanced self-improvement mindsets, and it's a really good podcast if you're on self-improvement, because a lot of the self-improvement content you see online is kind of the same, and you know, I'm guilty for that as well. That's fine. This podcast goes a bit deeper, goes into some really specific techniques, so it's definitely one to listen to, and it introduced me to Chris Williamson. That's why I put it here. Okay, the second podcast I need you to go and listen to is absolutely essential you listen to this one. It is Andrew Huberman. You'll probably know who he is. If you don't, he is a neuroscientist who talks about really scientific tools, mainly for like life optimization. It is like self-improvement related, but it's mainly like life optimization stuff, like habits and techniques you can use to just improve your health. It's very health focused. And this one episode he does, it is his dopamine and drive episode. And now this episode is one of the earlier ones he did, and I think it's his most listened to episode ever. That's probably why I heard it. And yeah, it's amazing. It goes really in depth on dopamine and how the dopamine system works. And since knowing the information from this podcast, it has just explained so much to me about just the way I act and what I want to do and things like that. It's just an amazing podcast. Talks all about motivation, procrastination, drive, ambition, everything like that. And if you're an ambitious person, then this podcast will give you kind of a bit of explanation as to why you might be like that. And if you're kind of a bit lazy and you just sit around, don't really do much, then this podcast is going to really help you to kind of get up and get on with things and kind of understand why you might be feeling so unmotivated all the time. Okay, the third podcast episode that you need to listen to is from Modern Wisdom. Now, this is Chris Williamson, who we talked about in the first podcast with Mike Thurston. This is his podcast, and this is with Alex Hormozi. So he's actually done, I believe he's done 3 episodes with Alex Hormozi. You can listen to any of them. They're all amazing, and they all kind of cover, you know, they overlap a little bit and kind of cover the same thing. But any of the episodes with Alex Hormozi are amazing. If you don't know who Alex Hormozi is, he is this ultra mega rich guy, entrepreneur, businessman. He's got a YouTube channel, and I definitely recommend you go watch his YouTube channel as well. He's got a podcast. I've listened to a few episodes of his podcast, but they're very business focused, not very self-improvement focused. This guy has an absolute wealth of knowledge, mainly with self-improvement, it comes more to the finance stuff and like the motivation and and not giving up, and like the specific business stuff to do. And he just has amazing information. If you're looking to make money online or make money from your self-improvement journey, get out of your 9 to 5, that sort of vibe, rather than just the health related stuff. If you're wanting to know more about the finance and the making money side of things, this is a podcast to definitely go listen to. Chris Williamson and Alex Hormozi on Modern Wisdom. Okay, at number 4, I've got another First Things First podcast. This is Mack, and this is his episode with Hamza. It's one of the very early episodes he did. So yeah, just literally go on YouTube or Spotify, type in First Things Thirst, and yeah, look up the Hamza episode, and then also the Chris Williamson one that we mentioned in the beginning. But yeah, obviously you guys know I'm a huge fan of Hamza and always have been. He got me onto self-improvement, so I had to listen to this episode, and it is a fantastic episode. It was filmed back when Hamza was in Dubai, so it's kind of the mindset he was in at that time, and I guess that was maybe like the peak of his like business in terms of like his views and stuff. And yeah, it's an amazing episode. It's got loads of really cool stuff in there. If you're on self-improvement and you came from Hamza, sort of like me, you were in the kind of Hamza era of self-improvement when it all started blowing up, you're gonna really like this one. And lastly, I've got a podcast which I think this is my favorite podcast episode ever, or what it's got to be in the top 3 for me. This is another Modern Wisdom podcast. It's Chris Williamson, and it is with a guy called George Mack. So he's done 3 or 4 episodes with George Mack now, and I didn't know who this guy was until I listened to Chris Williamson's Modern Wisdom podcast. I discovered him through that, and yeah, this George Mack guy, honestly, I don't think he's got a YouTube channel or anything. He's got like a Twitter. He's big on Twitter. I don't have social media, so I don't know, but he is absolutely he's like fascinating, like how clever he is and some of the stuff he comes up with and the insights he can give. I can't really explain just how good this podcast was. I felt like when I was listening to it, it was just, you know, I basically finished listening to the podcast, came home, and I just recorded a fucking bunch of videos and just was so motivated and so driven and just felt so good. It's such a great podcast. Yeah, I'll save the details of that podcast when you go and listen to it. But you know, especially if you're like working on a YouTube channel, or if you're working on some business and you're on self-improvement, but you're also like trying to make money online and you need that sort of kick up the arse to kind of go and do it, this podcast is going to be for you. It's great. Right, so that was just a quick video for me of my sort of top 5 podcasts, I guess, the specific episodes that have helped me on self-improvement. I'm sure I'll do another video like this in the future when I've listened to some more podcasts. Don't just, limit you listening to these 5 episodes. I definitely go and, like, these are ones that you need to listen to definitely on self-improvement, but literally any of Chris Williamson's podcasts will be amazing. And I've not listened to all of them, so you might find one that you might comment on this video and tell me that I need to go listen to it. And yeah, I certainly will do. So yeah, Chris Williamson, Modern Wisdom, and Andrew Huberman's podcast, they are the kind of 2, for me anyway, they're like the 2 biggest podcasts that I listen to on self-improvement. I'm sure there's like lots of other podcasts to listen to, and there's lots of ones that I want to go listen to. So if you're struggling for something to listen to and you kind of like listen to like maybe some of like the Fresh and Fit or something, all these bullshit podcasts where they get all the girls on and all this kind of stuff, don't be listening to that. It's not going to help you on your self-improvement journey. If you really want some value when you're actually listening to a podcast, these podcasts really provide value, actual tangible advice that you can go ahead and actually do. And so Modern Wisdom and Andrew Huberman are the main ones, and then those, Mike THRST episodes, there's 2 that I listed off. They're great as well. Right guys, hope you got some value out of this video. Hope it helped you, and remember, just improve yourself by 1% every day, and you'll get there. See ya.